Hey, everybody. Welcome. Is everybody doing all right? You guys can use the chat. Let us know how things are going. My name is Keith O'Neill. I'm the Director of Academic Technology here at AIMM. So, welcome to our AMA. We're here to sort of help you guys out, answer any questions that you might have. We also have David Lopez here, who is going to be doing a little presentation and everything. But yeah, we are here. Feel free to use the chat, use the Q&A, whatever it is that you guys need to use. And while even David's presenting, we will do our own little thing. But yeah, I see that you guys are all here. You guys have, we've got some people in here. Cool. Any questions so far before we jump into it or anything? Again, you guys can use the chat there. No? We're all good? Okay, awesome. So David, how are you feeling?
Sorry about that. I think I'm doing well. Appreciate it. Y'all can hear me okay out there?
Yes, yes.
Very good. Thank you very much, Keith. Thank you, Maggie. Good to have everyone with us today. My name is David Lopez. I am an instructor here at AIMM for about 2 years, teaching various courses, such as Pro Tools and MIDI synthesis and sequencing, electronic music production. And yeah, happy to spend a few minutes with you guys today, just give you a quick little example of some of the things that you can learn with us here at AIMM. I am going to start a little bit of a screen share here. Looks like the chat should be open at this point. Very good. Thank you so much, Keith. Go ahead and get this screen share started. All right, so we should be good to go there. Any questions, of course, Keith, you let me know, or if you could please field for me, I do appreciate it. Feel free to unmute and jump in there.
Absolutely.
Very good.
I got you.
Thank you so much. So, yes, so welcome everyone. What we are looking at right now is Ableton Live. Many of you may have heard of Ableton Live. It is what we call a DAW. It's one of the two main DAWs that we teach here at AIMM. DAW, some of you may know, stands for Digital Audio Workstation. In a nutshell, what does that mean? Just it is an environment, a software environment for us to record, edit, sequence, and mix audio, and also something that we call MIDI, or MIDI data. So Ableton Live is absolutely an industry standard. I teach it in 2 of my courses here. One is MIDI synthesis and sequencing, and the other being electronic music production. And I also happen to be an Ableton certified trainer for about 15 years now. So it's absolutely my main production environment, and I also use Pro Tools quite heavily as well. So I just wanted to give you a little rundown, give you a visual of what Ableton Live looks like. And here's a little project that I've put together actually while teaching my course this quarter that's coming to an end here shortly. So I'm just going to run you through a few things so you get an idea of what you're looking at here. So you're going to change this view to start so you guys can check some things out here. So what do we have going on? If we look carefully up top here, we have these various columns. And each of these is representing a group of different musical instruments in this production. Right? I've primarily used what we call virtual instruments, software instruments, to create this production, and also some audio samples, different audio loops, and something that we call one-shots. So to go acclimating yourselves to what it is that we're looking at, this very first column is what I call a drum group. So I can open this up or kind of expand it, unfold it with this little button right here. And now I can see a few other columns. These are individual musical elements that I've created. I'll give you a quick example of what this, these different sequences, these different musical elements sound like individually, and then I'll let you hear some of them all together to see that combined result. Also going to double click on one of these things. This is called a clip. It's basically like a musical idea or a musical phrase. It's a little 4-bar section triggered by a virtual instrument, a software instrument. So I'm going to do what's called soloing this very first track, just to listen to it in isolation from the rest of my musical elements, even those that are in my drum group right here. And I mentioned groupings of instruments. So I have a drum group, a bass group, synthesis group, or a synth group, an effects group, and a vocal group. So I just wanted to kind of consolidate things and not give you too much to look at one time. So I've folded up my different groups. But yes, I'm going to let you hear what one of these sequences that I made myself, that I programmed. It's a kind of a drum and bass beat. So I'll go ahead and play that so you guys get an idea of what's going on. Please let me know if the volume is okay, or Keith, you can let me know any adjustments need to happen on playback volume there. So little 4-bar beat that I've done, kind of a faster tempo, working with this style of music many of you may have heard of called drum and bass. So what we see down here, all these little blue blocks, the squares, etc., that is a musical pattern. You're basically seeing it represented visually. But if I click here on what looks like a little piano over on the side, this is called a piano roll, you'll be able to hear individual sounds. All right, so like this is a hi-hat that is being triggered here. Here's a little clap, kind of a snare-ish rim shot sound. And then down here, I have a kick drum. And yes, when you put it all together in this sequence, this is what we get. All right, so that is utilizing a virtual instrument that's available within Ableton Live that is called a drum rack. I'm going to double click on this track right up top. And then this is actually the virtual instrument down at the bottom that I am utilizing to create this sequence. You can hear those same sounds right in here, right, as well as down here. Right? So that's kind of like the first main element of my drums. And then I created a hi-hat to add an additional hat to that, but I actually made this with a synthesizer. I made the hi-hat sound on my own utilizing a synthesizer that is called Vital, that I teach as part of my synthesis and sequencing class. So one thing I show my students how to do is actually make sounds from scratch using synthesizers. It can be a little intimidating when you start out, but once you get your brain around kind of the core concepts, it all starts coming together. But I will go ahead and play this little sequence, a very simple hi-hat sequence, which we can see represented right down here visually. So if I play that and solo it, we will hear the simple hi-hat pattern, but it is actually being triggered. It is this virtual instrument that is making that hi-hat sound, and I created it from scratch. So just an example of one of the things that you will learn here at AIMM. So we call this sound design, utilizing synthesizers and also what are called samplers to create our own sounds from scratch that we can then use in our productions. So that's a quick instance of Vital and a custom sound design. I can go ahead and layer that in with the existing beat that you heard already, and you'll see how it kind of fills in a little bit more with that additional hat. Oh, jumping the gun there. So yes, those are those two sources together. See what that sounds like. And now I'm going to let you hear all of my drums. I have one other element that I'm adding here to my drums, and that is what I call a top loop. I'll actually let you hear that very quick in isolation. But it is simply an audio sample, a recording that I sourced and I manipulated a little bit in various ways. And then this is what it sounds like right now. It's what we call a typical AIMM break. It's a style of drum break that is often used in drum and bass and other bass music styles. So it sounds like this. And I've also done a few things. If we look here, we can actually see a visual representation right down here of that recording, of that file, of that sample. And I also manipulated the timing of it a little bit using these little markers here that are called warp markers to make sure it really fit well with my other musical elements. So if I put all of those drums together, the sequence drums that I created with this virtual instrument called a drum rack, the hi-hat that I created using a synthesizer, and then the top loop, the drum loop that I manipulated, we put it all together, we get a nice full sounding drum and bass type of beat or loop. So I'll hit play on that real quick. so we get an idea of what that sounds like. And then just to go filling you in on what else I've brought into this production. So I'm going to fold up that drum group just to simplify things, so we're not looking at things that we're not working with at the moment. And don't want anyone getting too lost as far as looking at the user interface of Ableton Live. Then I have a bass group with a few different bass sounds. And sometimes I just layer bass sounds to get different sonic textures and really get something full. So I will give you a quick example of what these three bass different instruments that I've layered together. There is one. Here is another virtual instrument bass, and then there is a third. And two of these I've actually created from scratch. So I'll let you listen to them. Let you listen to one or two by themselves, too. Kind of a cool sound, and then I have a different, it's the same sequence, it's the same note, the same notes or line or pattern, but a little bit of a different sonic texture. It's a little bit softer, it's a little bit rounder. But now when I take these three different sounds and layer them together, I will go ahead and let you hear just that bass group in isolation from the rest of my musical elements, and we'll see how full that sound can get when we layer up different sounds. Now you are hearing, this is just the bass, but you're hearing the drum group that I like to hear first in addition to the bass. It sounds like this. So kind of cool. And really, if you take a look up here, I try to kind of simplify my productions and group things together. It's very useful when it comes to mixing, to getting our productions to sound good, to sound balanced. And it's also a way of just kind of staying organized, kind of breaking things down into chunks. In reality, there are something like 18 or so, actually there's probably about 24 tracks in here total. But by grouping similar types of instruments, my drums, my synths, my basses, different effects, vocals, etc., I can then get control over those groups of instruments kind of in chunks. So I can still work with the different levels, the different sonic qualities of my individual sounds, but I can also group them, and we call that summing. We are adding them together, and then I can do alter or affect, modify those groups of signals in additional ways to really get a professional sounding mix. So I do have a few different synth lines that I've created here. Most of them, it looks like 2 presets that I started with from Ableton for a couple of the sounds. And then I made some custom synth instruments just using, again, that virtual instrument called Vital, a synthesizer, all right? Like, I'll give you an example of one of those in isolation. Maybe this guy, we'll give a listen. Synth group. All right, so all of these, let me see here why I'm cut right now, but all of these last 3 were created by me from scratch just while teaching my students. Right? Everything you're hearing today is just me working with my students over the last quarter, and as I taught them, this is something that I created. Now, to go just a pinch further, you may be wondering, hey, I've seen other DAWs, like maybe some of you guys use Fruity Loops, or Reason, or Cubase, maybe Ableton. There are 2 primary views to the user interface. We call this the GUI, or GUI, the Graphical User Interface. It's how we interact with the software, how we control the software. So there are 2 main views to the user interface within Ableton Live. So this is one called the session view. I think it's very powerful. It's really how I start my studio productions. But some people tend to get a little confused with it, and that is okay. There is another main view that you can work with within Ableton Live to compose and produce, edit, and mix. So I'm going to hit the tab button right here to flow, to kind of jump over to that other view. Any Ableton users, if there happen to be any out in the crowd, You can also click right up here. So these two little buttons up top, kind of icons here, the one on the left with the vertical lines in yellow, that is the session view that we are currently looking at. And then if I were to click on the other one with the vertical lines, that will show what is called my arrangement view and where I will actually create an arrangement. Now, of course, I'm running here and focus on what I'm doing, but I think I saw one or two comments over there, but I think there was something maybe related to warping. Maybe somebody saw some warp markers on that breakbeat that I was working.
Yeah, we were hoping how to do warping in Ableton, or if that's even, or not in Ableton, but in FL, if that's even possible as well, similar to how Ableton does it.
Yeah, I'm not sure with FL. Warping, I will say this, as Ableton and Pro Tools are my primary DAWs. It's really all I use is the two environments I'm in. Warping is pretty similar. There are some differences with nomenclature, naming, as happens between DAWs, but for the most part, the overall process is the same, and it's allowing us to manipulate and modify timing primarily of different audio samples so that we can get, say, a loop that's 100 beats per minute or BPM to conform to a tempo that is anything other than that, like 120, something like that. Like that breakbeat that you guys heard earlier, of course, that was originally recorded at a much, much, much slower tempo, but heavily sampled or recorded and then manipulated, especially in what's called bass music or drum and bass. So I always tell my students, I'm glad that we teach Ableton Live here in Pro Tools because they really are core production standards that you are absolutely going to run into in the field. Having said that, it's absolutely okay to use different DAWs as well, like Fruity Loops or Cubase, Reason, so on and so forth. I think most importantly, when it comes to a DAW, because they all generally do the same things. Sometimes things are labeled differently. Some things might be a little more geared towards different workflows, but ultimately we can always record, edit, mix, sequence, audio, and what is called MIDI data. So having said all that, I think find what is most comfortable for you and helps you to get from A to Z the fastest and most comfortably. So to kind of move over here to this arrangement view, this will likely seem a little more just kind of recognizable to most of you. Again, the session view tends to be a little confusing for folks, but I think it's one of the most powerful things within Ableton Live. And it's also used for live performance. But ultimately, when you make a production, you have to actually create an arrangement. A song needs to have essentially a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that might be called, we can look at those different sections of a song, of the song structure, as maybe like an intro, followed by a verse, followed by a hook or chorus. Maybe we do that again, another verse, another chorus, perhaps a bridge, things like that. Now, I happen to have been working on an electronic style of music here, drum and bass, which I work in heavily. That's kind of my main area for the last many, many years. So yeah, we want to do things kind of in the, the context of the music that we work in. So if we take a look up top, guys, we see here this little intro A, intro B. These are called locators that allow me to just kind of mark different sections of my arrangement. But in electronic music, we tend to use different terms instead of like verse and hook that we'll use in more traditional styles, pop, hip hop, rock, etc. We tend to use the terms a break, a build, and a drop. And so I'm going to let you guys hear that. So we still use intros, like you see. I'm going to let you hear the first section of my intro A, second section B. Then we'll have a break, which is kind of a release, or kind of like a break of energy. We often take out certain musical elements to kind of just bring just like downward energy, kind of smoothing things out for a little bit. Then we'll utilize a build to actually build up that energy and build tension. So much about music, especially electronic music, it's about, we often just say tension and release. It's like building tension, which is interesting to the listener, gets the listener kind of psyched up, built up, and then there's a release of that. And in electronic music styles like drum and bass or house, techno, stuff like that, we call that the drop, right? Like the main part of the songs, I often jokingly say, just like the meat and potatoes of the song, right? So I know time kind of flies, but I'm going to let you guys give a quick listen to this. Just from the beginning, I have not completed the full arrangement. Even everything you see here is only about 2 minutes, but I'll let you hear maybe a minute-ish or so. May jump through some parts, but just so you get an idea of what a production sounds like in the works, but getting to check out an arrangement. Now, you may notice before I hit play, I am going to expand or show you all of the different tracks here. But you may notice what we see over here is it's the same exact groups that I mentioned to you in our other view, all right? This arrangement view is just for doing what it sounds like, for actually creating an arrangement, again, having different parts of your song structure. So I'm going to unfold or kind of open every one of these, and now we can see all of the content, the different sequences and loops and things that I showed you in the other view. I have simply kind of transferred them over to this view and actually created the beginnings of an arrangement. All right. Again, this is not fully produced. It's not fully arranged, but it's a nice little example for you guys to check out. So I'll start that kind of towards the beginning, maybe save a little time, go halfway through intro A, and just give you some playback and check it out. Here are all the tracks that are currently in the production. Cool. So you guys let me know. Maggie, Keith, are we kind of good on time? I don't know if you wanted to go. Jonah, awesome. Ooh, like the build a lot. Really appreciate it, y'all. I try to have fun with my students in here. Like while while I'm teaching, we're gonna have fun and we're gonna create, right? And sometimes we come up with some really cool things just in the classroom environment. So, Keith, Maggie, let me know if you don't mind touching base with me how you want to do.
I think we're good on time, yeah. And Joan is also asking if you make any more bass-focused electronic music like dubstep or focus more on drum and bass.
Yeah, so interestingly, I am an old school drum and bass head. I started DJing in 1996 to age myself a little bit. And I actually I am mostly a house head, as we say these days. So I mostly DJ and work on the tips of like deep, Afro-Latin, minimal house and techno, stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes I just kind of mess around and make a drum and bass track from time to time because yeah, that was kind of my first love within electronic music. So yeah, this one was more just like, hey, for fun while teaching, hey guys, let's put together a little drum and bass piece, and this is what came out. But do appreciate the question there, Jonah. So if you end up over here at AIMM, awesome, awesome, thank you so much. Yeah, if you end up over here, I look forward to meeting you and talking about all this stuff in person. So, cool. I think I'm pretty good there, maybe in a good stopping point, but let me know if there are any particular questions related to Ableton. Thank you so much.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Appreciate it, David. Anybody have any other questions for David?
And I'm going to hang around too, guys. So if something comes up in a little bit, I will stay here till the end of the meeting. So go ahead to jump in the chat or whatever. All right. Thank you,
Okay.
guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Of course.
And so now we've got Maggie Bass, who's our director of admissions.
Are y'all able to see everything? Perfect. All right. Yeah. So for anyone who has not had any communications with me yet, my name is Maggie Bass, like the fish, not like the instrument, unfortunately. This is basically just kind of an opportunity for me to kind of lay out all the basic info about our programs, about school, any questions y'all might have, because I know it's a lot, especially when it comes to the different programs. A lot of them have very similar names and all of that stuff. So kind of just wanted to lay some groundwork, answer any questions y'all might have before our upcoming quarters. So a little bit about us. We were originally founded in 1985. So we actually hit our 40th year this year. AIMM kind of started as like a guitar vocational program and slowly evolved over the years into what it is now. So nowadays we focus a lot more heavily on that production side, exactly what David was showing y'all. And we've been operating here in Duluth, so just outside, Metro Atlanta area. Yeah, we are an improved VA training facility, and we're also a certified avid learning partner. What that means is you can get your Pro Tools certifications right here at AIMM. Right, so when it comes to our degree programs, so we offer 2-year associate's degrees. We've taken full time, they're 2 years. If you have like, job, a life outside of school and you need to kind of take it a little bit slower, we do also have a 3/4 time. So that would take about 2.5 years. So it's kind of the difference between looking at 3 to 4 days of classes versus 2 to 3 days of classes. If you want to break it down into credit hours, it's looking at, 12 credit hours each quarter. We are in a quarter system. If you're doing full time, whereas it's more like 6 to 8 credits each quarter if you're doing 3/4 time or part time. And when it comes to those degrees, we have 2 different ones. So our main one is the music production and audio for media degree. So that is totally available online, right here on campus, or a little mix of both. That program teaches you every single thing you want to learn about writing, recording, mixing, mastering, producing, engineering, all your own music. It also kind of goes, more in depth into higher level mastering, as well as classes for different forms of audio. So like live sound, sound for TV and film or video games, things like that. I basically tell people kind of just expands your career options after graduation. It also just kind of depends on what it is you're wanting to do professionally. If you're wanting to just focus on the music side of it, if you're wanting to be more of an engineering side of it, really just kind of depends. But that would be our music production degree. Now, we also have a music and technology degree. That degree is basically half performance, half production. So we have 5 different instrument focuses here. There's guitar, bass, drums, keys, and vocals. Your voice is an instrument still. But that program basically kind of mixes that performance track along with the production track. So you're still learning how to make, write, record all of your own songs, but you're also kind of perfecting your craft on your instrument. So it's, practicing a lot on stage in a band setting, getting you experience, performing in that environment. How you perform on stage is obviously going to be different than how you perform in studio. And then, focusing on that as well, making sure you sound the best you can in either situation. We also have certificate programs. These are shorter programs. So they're a little bit, easier to kind of digest at once, if that makes sense. So these are 9-month programs if taken full time. And then again, part time, looking at more like 18 months, literally just, not half it, double it. When it comes to those, we have a few different ones. This is where it gets a little confusing with the naming. So I always try to make sure everyone knows exactly what they're applying for. So we have a performance certificate that is only available on campus. That is the performance half, basically, of the music and technology degree. So it is totally just focusing on your performance in your instrument. That's, not just with your fellow guitarist or bassist or whoever, but also, again, in a band setting. There's also a music production certificate. And that one is available campus, online, hybrid, has a little more flexibility. But that's the one that, again, if you're just wanting to focus on music production or just kind of start your groundwork, I always recommend to start with a certificate if you'd like, because you can always swap to the degree later. If you're not sure what you're wanting to do professionally yet, it's a great groundwork for you to just really get the basics and get your footing in that industry. We do also have a music and technology certificate. As of right now, we offer that for guitar, bass, and keys. That's mainly going to be an online program. It's exactly like the degree, but a lot more condensed. So it's not going to get as in depth to the production or the performance sides of it. It's kind of more for folks who are wanting to do like home studio type work, if that makes sense. All right, so what do you have to do to get here? It's really simple, I promise. I know it seems really daunting, but it's not too bad. Step one is always going to be submit an application. Our application process is 100% online. You just go to our website, should be in the top right-hand corner is going to be a button for apply now. Literally just fill out all that information, it gets sent directly to us. It'll then create you an application portal. You'll make a login, all of that good stuff. It'll tell you what your steps are that you need to complete. So this is where most folks get a little tripped up. You're going to have to submit an official high school GED or college transcript that reflects a graduation date or completion date for GEDs. What that means is if you went to college but did not graduate college, I can't use that for your admissions. You still can submit it for transfer credits. Absolutely, we do accept transfer credits depending on what classes they are, all of that good stuff. But yeah, I have to have one with the completion date and it has to come from your previous school. I get people emailing me or mailing me their transcripts all the time. I can't accept those. It has to come directly from the school. Which you can always reach out to me. There's steps you can take for me to request it for you, do some of that legwork, because I know it's kind of a pain. After that, kind of different steps depending on what program you're going for. If you're doing any sort of performance-based program, you have to do an audition. Promise is not that daunting. It's a 1 to 2 minute long video you would submit. If you're local and you want to do it in person, you can always reach out. We can get that scheduled for sure. If you want a little bit more chill, you can totally just video yourself at home, a-okay. As long as we can hear you and see you, that's all that matters. And then if you're doing any of the production tracks, that includes music and technology, there's a 20-question exam you have to complete. Now, I always let people know I'm going to use the term exam kind of loosely because that freaks people out. It's more like a quiz. 20 questions. We give you videos that cover all the material covered in it. If you were to watch every single video and then take the quiz, it takes you less than 40 minutes. But yeah, so it's not too bad, I promise. And since we are in a quarter system, we have a few different start dates. There's going to be 4 starts that you can get begin throughout the year. Our next one is going to be January 5th. That is our winter quarter. So if you're wanting to get started as soon as possible, that would be the one to apply for. If you're wanting a little bit more time, April 6th is going to be the start of our spring quarter, and then July 6th after that for summer. Fall next year will begin in October, and then the cycle repeats again. If you've never been on a quarter system, it's pretty get up and go. We try to make sure that people are able to get in the field as quickly as possible with as much knowledge as possible. So yeah, makes it a little bit quicker that way. Now, when it comes to financial aid, I am not a financial aid expert. I have gone through the financial aid process as someone who also went to college, so I totally get it's a lot. We do participate in Title IV funded programs, such as the Pell Grant, the SEO grant, and the Parent Plus loan. We are not HOPE eligible. If you're from out of state, that probably means nothing to you. If you're a Georgia resident, we are not HOPE eligible because we are a private institution. However, you are still eligible depending on, obviously your FAFSA results, you would still be eligible for different grants. When you're applying for financial aid, you'd be doing that at fafsa.gov. Our school code is going to be on the screen there. It's going to be 031045. Basically, whenever you fill out your FAFSA, you just put that number in. It automatically will send your results to our financial aid department after 3 business days. So it does take a little while to get here. I always recommend people fill it out as soon as possible. If you wait until the last second, it's not going to get done in time in order for you to get funded before school starts. That being said, in the same vein, financial aid does not typically cover your living expenses. So if you're not local and you're wanting to move to the area, keep that in mind, that usually financial aid is not going to cover that. That being said, we do offer a roommate matching service. Something we try to do to help folks out who don't know anyone else in the area. We try to match you up based on gender, age, and program, things like that. It's obviously not a guarantee. Signing a lease is totally up to you guys. It's just kind of our way of trying to help push you all in the right direction. All right. Once all of that is done, you get all your steps completed and I send you your acceptance email, all of that good stuff. There's then orientation. This is where most folks get a little hung up. Again, I promise it's not that bad. Orientation will typically open 2 months before your start date. So we are currently in the orientation period for winter quarter. It's mainly paperwork. You're not having to come up here on campus. It's 100% online. And it's really just kind of filling out all of your new student forms. That has to be done in order for you to get registered for classes. Your advisor cannot register you for classes until all of that is complete. I think if someone who's kind of clicked through it, again, it takes less than 40 minutes. And that's if you're really reading through everything. So yeah, it's not that bad. We send you all the links. If you ever, need the link sent to you again, you can always reach out, all of that good stuff. In case there's anyone here who's already applied and been accepted for winter, who's needing that step done. Like, if you need me to resend you the link, I'm always more than happy to do so. And that is all I have. Did y'all have any questions for me? I'm just now seeing that the chat was going off, so I am so sorry.
That was me.
Okay. But yeah. So if y'all have any questions, definitely just kind of shoot them out. That is what I am here for. Alternatively, if you can't think of anything right now, like contact info is also on the screen. Yes, ma chérie. Hope I pronounced that right. I'm thinking like it's French. Yes, campus tours are offered. I always, always, always recommend coming up for a tour, especially if you're planning on attending it in person. It definitely is kind of a different feel when you're actually able to see our studio spaces in person. Those should be perfect. Yep. Keith just sent the link for everyone. Perfect. Okay, I want to make sure I did it right. But yeah, there's different appointment types you can make there. So if you want to do an in-person on-campus tour, definitely what I recommend. If you're not local, it's also a-okay. There are virtual tours where it's basically just like this. It's a Zoom call where I walk you around the campus on an iPad and kind of show you everything, and we can have a little one-on-one chat. I can answer any questions for you, all of that good stuff. You can also schedule a phone call with me at any point in time. That way, there's a specific time that works for you. I can always reach out to you then. When it comes to tuition being covered financial aid, that is really dependent. Everybody's results are different. So some people, they have their entire tuition covered. Some people have an out-of-pocket cost. It really just depends on your eligibility. I have no way of determining that. That's something you totally just have to fill out the FAFSA and then wait those 3 business days and it'd be able to kind of let you see how much you qualify for. I also know that when it comes to qualifying for financial aid, that also depends on your class load. So typically, if you're a full-time student, you're going to receive more in aid than if you're a part-time student. So it's also something to kind of consider when you're going through that process with your financial aid advisor. Absolutely. And like I said, if anyone thinks of anything down the line, that email on the screen there, that goes directly to me. And then that phone number is for my direct line. You're not going to have to worry about like putting an extension in. That goes to my direct line. If I don't answer, you can always leave a voicemail. I'm currently locked out of my voicemails, I realized today, but I'll be getting that fixed. So I usually recommend shoot me an email just in case.
All right. Well, you wanna mute yourselves?
Yeah, that way I don't
Get a weird echo. You guys can hear me all right now? Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming out, checking everything out. Please reach out to us if you do have any questions, and we will see you guys soon for the next one. We appreciate it.